Hello and welcome to Particularpixels. I'm Xiaoling, and today we'll be looking at the Overwatch closed beta in perspective. So I've been playing Overwatch since the beginning of the closed beta, and I wanted to share my impressions of it so far. This is not a review, the progression system isn't in the game yet, so these impressions are based solely on my experience with the currently available content. So Overwatch is Blizzard's new entry into the team-based first-person shooter genre. Many have compared it to Team Fortress 2, but it does bring some unique ideas of its own. If you guys are interested in a more in-depth look at the game, you can check out my What is Overwatch video here, where I go into a little bit more detail. Let's start off by taking a look at the hero system. All of the heroes feel very different to one another. The way they move, their weapons and their skills make for a varied experience. They all have varying learning curves, some are easier to play than others, but they all have their own nuances that you have to get used to. However, after a few matches with any of the heroes, it's relatively easy to get to grips with how they feel and play. Heroes can be switched when you die by being in the spawn point at any point during the match. This mechanic is a big part of the game, switching to complement your team or to counter the enemy compositions. Yes, it is possible to take the same heroes as your other team members, and in fact sometimes beneficial, but depending on the situation you may also need to play the support or tank role in the game. This is not a game where you pick your favorite hero and refuse to change. You will need to adapt on the fly, the enemy team will, and if you don't you will lose. This is another reason you need to know at least what the other heroes in the game are capable of doing, so you know what to use as a counter. Now, not everything is black and white, but there are some heroes who are better counters to certain ones than others. Currently there are 20 heroes in the game at the moment, all falling into the four categories of assault, defense, support and tank. The matches consist of either escorting payloads or capturing objectives if you're the attackers, and defending these objectives or preventing payload delivery if you are the defenders. The matches are pretty short. Time is extended if the attackers reach checkpoints. In payload, these are specific parts of the level, and in capture, it's if the timer reaches a specific point in the timer. In the closed beta, there are currently 8 maps available in the game. So that's pretty much the game in a nutshell. The question is if the game is fun, and do I think it's worth buying based on my experience so far. There is a massive amount of hype surrounding Overwatch. Is it deserved? Is the game everything that it is made out to be? I mentioned earlier that the progression system has not been implemented yet. I'll probably do a short video covering that and how much it changes the game when it does make its way into the game itself. I was super excited when they first announced Overwatch. I signed up for the beta the moment I could, and then of course the long wait. And then finally October the 27th came, the beta officially started. So as you can imagine, I nearly fell out of my chair the next morning when I received an email from Blizzard saying welcome to the Overwatch beta. And so it began. I have played the game a fair amount and found it to be a whole lot of fun. The dynamic of the matches is always changing because composition of heroes is never the same. As with any game, learning all the levels is key to doing well, the shortcuts and the places you can and can't reach. I found that when I understood the hero mechanics, started to know the maps and where each hero's strengths were within these maps, it became a whole new experience, and it definitely improved the depth of the game for me. Obviously, this is true for most games though. It has to be said though that this is a team game through and through. Team play and team communication is kind of key. However, in the past weeks, I've started to notice more toxic behavior in the game with regards to comments about teammates and whatnot. Considering that Blizzard have said that this is less than 1% of opt-in that actually got in, I wonder what will happen when the floodgates open. Players often just take who they feel like, regardless of what roles are actually needed in the team. Perhaps I'm making it sound worse than it is, so I'll add this. These experiences are entirely with pickup groups, and not all pickup groups either. But I have noticed an increase in these kinds of comments and behavior over the weeks. Playing with friends over voice will obviously be the best experience, but not possible unless of course some of your friends are in the beta as well. I noticed similar behavior in Heroes of the Storm, and it was unfortunate to see that it's appearing here as well. Of course, there will always be those players in any game, but the fact that with such a small percentage of people playing that it's already appearing is a little concerning. Yes, of course, you can just ignore it, but at the same time, it doesn't really promote an enjoyable gaming environment. But all in all, I've had a lot of fun with the game, and I will continue playing it. My initial excitement has died down, and I feel that this was a good time to do this video so that I could approach it from a slightly different perspective. The game is very good. It's fun to play in short bursts, and the variety of heroes and hero switching keeps things fresh and interesting. I think that my interest waning over the past weeks is probably attributed to the lack of real teamwork at the moment. People very seldom communicate using voice in these random teams. It does happen, but it's pretty rare. And to be honest, running around a map where people are either just doing their own thing or assaulting objectives one at a time is probably not the best way that this game should be experienced. If you can, play it with a group of friends on voice. When they implement the progression system, and depending on how that's done, I think it would definitely add to the depth of the experience. But as I mentioned earlier, it's not in the game yet, so I can't really comment on that. No doubt Blizzard will continue balancing the game based on feedback from closed beta players and those who are able to get involved in the beta weekends. I'll continue to play Overwatch, and I'm pretty excited to see what the future holds. It's definitely a game to keep your eye on. What do you guys think of the game? If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content, give a like and subscribe for updates. Otherwise, if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them in the section below. I've been Xiaoling. Until next time.